Hiring versus contracting. We're going to discuss the pros and cons of doing either. So for hiring, the pros of hiring are these: loyalty, cheaper per job, high availability, permanent delegation, less training. Let me just explain this. By the way, what I do at Grumo Media is contracting. I found out that to run a small online business, which is 100% digital, the best option for me is uh, is contracting. But if you have a different type of business or if it's a larger business, then you may want to consider hiring. Now, there are pros and cons for both, and I'm going to discuss them right now. So, for pros, one of the main advantages of hiring people is loyalty, it's pride in the culture. When you hire somebody, they become part of a family. It's a family of your company. And people like to belong to families. They feel it's like their second home. They're going to spend many, many hours with you and their co-workers, and it's gonna be nice. And hopefully if you motivate them, you pay them well, you challenge them, these people are gonna be loyal to you, which means you don't have to keep finding new employees. Once you find your core employees, then they're gonna stick with you for hopefully several years or many years. So it's gonna be great. That family is gonna grow strong. The bond between you and them is going to be great. You're going to build great lasting relationships, which is actually something very valuable in life. It's not just everything about work and making money. Relationships are important, and if you can build a great culture, you may find yourself a great second family. So that's a great advantage. They're cheaper per job. The reason why is once you negotiate their wage, a monthly wage, typically you'll give them raises as they spend more time with you, as they increase their skills, as you give them more responsibility. But the reality is that because they are available for you at least 40 hours a week, you can give them as many jobs as they can handle, and you still have to pay them the same amount per month, right? It's not like the more jobs you give them, the more you have to pay them. You're going to try to do the best you can to fill in their 40 hours, but you know exactly at the end of each month how much they're going to get paid. So that cost is pretty much fixed. High availability, obviously, they're hired to stay with you for 40 hours a week at least, or what? Maybe they're part-time employees, so maybe 20, 25 hours, and then except for the times that they get sick or you give them holidays, which you have to, in most countries legally, then they're available for you all the time to work with you. Permanent delegation. This is important, especially if you grow the business to a certain size where you're not gonna be the one that does everything, and there are gonna be some core tasks that other people are gonna do, right? So let's say you need a CFO or CTO or a COO or somebody like that, or a secretary, people that you're going to continuously need to take care of core operations in your business. You can delegate these things permanently. It's not like you have to keep hiring people for every single job. They can take as many jobs as necessary. They can handle as many projects as required, and you know that whatever their task was is permanently delegated, right? Fantastic. And then less training. Once you train them, first of all, they should come with certain training. That's why you hire them in the first place. But you don't have to keep training them to learn how your processes work, because once they're part of your business, they learn it. Maybe you have some kind of operations manual. They go through some onboarding training. Boom, that's taken care of. So as opposed to a contractor where if they've never done something like this similar in the past, or you have a different way of working at other companies, they have to be onboarded maybe just for one job, and all that training, once they leave, it's gone, and they may use that training to start their own business, or to make money that is not gonna provide you any benefit. So that's an advantage of hiring. Now, of course, there are cons, and you're legally required to pay benefits, healthcare, and vacation time. It depends on the country you are. You may not have to pay their healthcare or whatever, but typically one of these three things you're going to have to do, which means there's paperwork involved. There is overhead, so maybe their base wage is $3,000 a month, but if you had all these things on top, and it's more money, or sometimes you're also required to withhold their taxes. Anyways, there's a lot more bureaucracy and paperwork when you're dealing with employees. You also, and you must make payroll in slow times. You're legally required to pay them their monthly wage, even if you're not making money as a company, even if you don't have money in the bank. So what happens is that in slow times where business is slow, you may have cash flow issues, but you still have to pay all your employees their wages. So that's a huge overhead that you may not be able to afford. What do you have to do? Many cases, and this is not unusual, where founders they see themselves in the really tough situation of having to use their own credit cards, taking loans at very crappy interest rates in order to make sure that their employees get paid for their work. And this could destroy your company basically if you cannot eventually become profitable and pay them on a timely basis. They're harder to fire. Realistically, eventually some employees turn sour, or they don't like you anymore, or they hate their job, or other coworkers cannot stand them anymore. There could be all kinds of conflicts when you hire somebody, and that means that they need to be dismissed as soon as possible. But it's not as easy as when you hire a contractor, because there's a lot of protections for employees. They could come back to you with legal action in the case of they feel that they were unfairly terminated, or there was some kind of harassment or discrimination. There's all kinds of things that they could claim. You could be legally implicated. This could cost you tens of thousands of dollars to resolve, because getting rid of an employee is more difficult. There's a lot of payroll paperwork legally required as well. So not only you have to pay them, but then you have to do a lot of payroll paperwork. In other words, there's a lot of more bureaucracy when you have an employee. And you're also responsible for employees' training. So on one side, we say there's less training, right? So on the short term, there's less training because, boom, you onboard them, and depending on their job, they may, if it's not a very complex job, they may not need further training for a while. But let's say that you want to promote this person. Maybe your company grows, and people within your company, obviously the employees that are so loyal to you, they're expecting for you to give them opportunities to grow within the company, which means they may grow because you promote them. But once you promote them, they may need new skills in order to perform their jobs properly. How are they going to gain those skills? Well, you're responsible for their training in order to be competent at their new positions. So, which means you have to spend money buying them online courses, getting them different certifications, sending them back to school, paying their trips to different seminars, etc., etc. Now, if you have several or many employees, this it's going to add to a lot of money. Hey, did you enjoy this video? If you want to see more like this, just subscribe here. If you want a free gift, click here. Yeah. Which one is going to be the one you click? La 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 la.